Alright, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings Here. Sort of. Yeah, anyway. I have to come up with something do not goddish, I guess. Anyway. Yeah. I don't really have to. So the subject is sort of about the fact that we think we have to do certain things in our life and we're quite obsessed with them. I have to get to this project, I have to complete that, and when I do all of that, everything will be just fine. And of course there'll be some new crap I have to do, so it won't matter because I really won't ever be done with the projects and the things I have to do. And we just live in this cycle of agenda dictated by whatever's going on in the environment and whatever story we're telling. So whether we're caught up in Little Red Riding Hood or the Wicked Witch thing, or the Wizard of Oz, or whatever the story is, we're playing our little role in the story, and we think certain things are important, and somebody else might examine our game and say, gee, it's really a silly game, he's just chasing the golden shoe. And it doesn't do anything. It's it's not even gold-plated, it's just gold-colored. What a wasted life. Because the other stories don't make any sense to the story you're in. Your story is real and serious. Their story is silly and trivial and nonsensical. The fact is, though, I think there is actually a truth to it. I do think most of the stories humans are telling are really trivial and silly. The things they're worried about, getting dressed to go to church and listen to, it's a waste of time. It's just babble, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't accomplish anything, doesn't save the future, would be, I guess, the key phrase. It doesn't save the future from any harm. It doesn't make the future a better place, therefore it's sort of a waste of time. The win-win is you enjoy doing something that makes the future a better place. That's sort of the way to play the game as best you can, is to attempt to enjoy playing, the work of solving the future's problems. That kind of thing. Preventing now so they don't have to suffer later kind of idea. Pretty logical, frankly. Anyway, so this video is sort of on the subject, but it's a hard subject to just grab and say, I got it. So it's sort of about transhumanism and technology and advancement, and what are we really trying to advance? We're trying to advance the storytelling, and we're trying to take all the gunshot wounds out of it, all the cancer out of it, all of the Parkinson, all of the dementia, all of the bad stuff, and but the idea is that even if you do all that, yes, it's very good to get rid of the torture, but the fact is you're still not going to create a good story. The story is still going to be some stupid chasey game. It's just, let's make a dog and have him chase his tail, and that'll be fun. No, that'll be stupid and cruel, frankly. But whatever. So it's all in there somewhere. And, it's hard to... it's hard to get to it. So anyway, it ends up being partly connected to a Sabine Hassenfelder video again, so sorry about that, but it just happened to be on a similar subject to what I was thinking about talking about, which was diversity, and how I don't get it, and how I think it's just toxic, and there's a right way to live, and there's a right way to be, and all this kind of stuff. And if you gave people the choice before they were born to pick, what they look like, I really don't think, I think there would be decidedly popular looks and decidedly not popular looks, and frankly the popular look is going to be a very rare look because it's exceptional and it's beautiful and all of that crap, and that's rare in reality, but it certainly is generic in terms of the idea of symmetry and health and youth. These are all concepts that we find attractive kind of generally, and so there's going to be a general consensus around certain appearances as being preferable ones to live in, the form of. No one chooses hands with only 3 fingers. You know, now you choose the hand with 5. It's better. They're done that. The episode's already been written, and you're just rewriting it a tiny bit. Yeah, so this is just the same story, same Shakespeare plays, however you want to describe it. I mean, it's same cartoon, same commercial. It's just about whatever you're focused on, and this is your important crap, and it's some little silly story, but it's just whether it's gingerbread or, chocolate factories, or, you can just go down the list of all the silly little things the story can be about, and it doesn't mean much. Jump ahead a little. So it is a long video, frankly, so I'll try to make this one short, an hour and 40 minutes or something. But whatever, that happens when you're playing somebody else's video. Graduation day from high school or something, and it's, they hire this and hire that, and, spend $2,000 on... So I was talking about some of the trivial things I see in the neighborhood, where people spend, I could just bring up weddings, and I could just say, what a insane waste of money. I mean, for your, you're spending your kid's college education on one afternoon. Too silly. I mean, just too frickin' silly. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a person that stupid, frankly, to take all those resources and just piss them away on a one little afternoon party. Just insanely stupid. Insanely incomprehensibly unreasonable behavior. Virtual reality, all the people living in the virtual reality are just, sticking butt plugs up each other. Yes, so it's just a way of getting off, and so that's all it is. And so people have different ways, different things they like, little button pressing procedures. But it's all the same button pressed in the end. It's just trying to gain your gratification, and the fact is you can do it simple, you can do it complicated. It's clearly ridiculable. If you're way too high maintenance to get your gratification, then that's not very functional. But the bottom line is your gratification isn't necessarily, very rarely is it going to be connected to anything good for the world. And that's the real problem with us as machines, is that we don't do it very well. We don't living efficiently and productively for the future well, because we're selfish bastards, and we're constructed as selfish individual genetic machines, and none of this is conducive to our obligation to improve the circumstance for the next generation, and that is not our devotion. It should be, but it isn't. People can't even say it, let alone do it. It's an icon, as funny as that is, and just read the captioning. Yeah, so I did watch her video by just reading the captions on one of those active icons, so that was kind of funny. Oh, and there's the intro in the middle of the video. Well, now, after the first minute and a half of the video. And have different adventures, and the different adventures will mean they will structurally end up different, and then when you reintroduce them to each other, they're physically different. So I'll just explain a little bit about how evolution, it is this punctuated equilibrium. The real evolution doesn't happen in gigantic populations, it happens in tiny populations. And then the tiny populations, with their advantage, gain strength, and they become a large number, and then they consume their parents. Kind of like the Europeans killing the Indians, the American Indians. I mean, it's really their ancestors, and they're killing them. Yeah. Experience at Disneyland, but a bad experience at Dollywood. Yeah, so the little crappy, vague little things that turn people into me on the internet, or the troll on the internet. And yes, there's some sort of little experiences in their lives that made one of them think trolling was suck, and the other one says, yeah, I like a good argument, but stay on the subject, please. So yeah, somehow you create all these different kinds of people, and frankly, from this person who has been me in all these little different forms, even though I was a different person in all these little different forms, I was consistently kind of the same person, and I was trying to look for the answer that didn't cause less problems. I wasn't trying to figure out how to cheat or steal or do any of that kind of crap. I was just trying to figure out how to play the game right. You know, how to get my little bow tie to be straight. That's all. Yeah. Jump ahead. I have a lot of negative traits that I wouldn't give somebody. Right, so, I mean, this is, you know, this whole eugenics argument should just end with the fact that every person could figure out, you know, if we give them a board with all these things to press, male pattern baldness, or the kid have that. Oh, no, fuck that. You know, crooked penis. Nah, fuck that. I mean, you can just press all the buttons for, no, don't do that. No, don't have that. No cancer, no polio, no that. Yeah, you'd say no to all this stuff. Fuck this shit that we can't figure out how to do it better. It says that nobody wants to pay the price for doing it better. The tiny price, frankly. Without, you know, being the best violin player or something else. I mean, it's not all just academic. And those are going to be mostly a certain... So I was talking about Einstein. I was just talking about the fact that it's very stressful having to be a thinking person and having to, you know, work on a project that's more bigger than just saying, what do I want to do today? I mean, Einstein liked sailing, liked doing a lot of things. I'm sure he would have liked doing more of that stuff and less of this trying to figure out how to make the equation balance. Yeah. But he was also full of shit when he said, I'd rather have been a plumber, because, yeah, the mediocre life of being a tool and just, you know, a wage slave and all of those negative things, come on, there's no way he would trade having a life of significance for a life of insignificance. There's too many problems to solve in the world, and you'd have to be insane to say you don't want any of the power to do it. Fuck. So there's another guy, Steinmetz, is a physicist. You should use him as... yeah, so she was in a sense defending Van Gogh's pain and suffering, because somehow, you know, we got these beautiful Van Gogh paintings and therefore it's worth it. That was the implication of what she was saying, and I was, you know, making the counter argument that no, he lived this tortured life, ending in suicide, just tormented from, you know, adolescence on. Even you could just say his whole life was just struggling to find a niche to fit in, and to win, and he just kept banging into walls that prevented him from finding peace, because yeah, the world is a piece of shit. He did look at it and he saw it was a piece of shit. You know, he did missionary work, not that he was much of a believer, but he believed in people and the human condition, and he was concerned for coal miners and spent years, you know, that's why he painted people that were kind of ugly and dirty, just because he wanted to capture this life they lived. A serious subject, so yes, all the little shysters. Don't know exactly what I'm saying there, but yes, it's just the world's just covered with people trying to trivialize and make a buck, and there's just, you know, that's the dominant human. That's why they won't vote for an honest man. You know, it's because it's not in their interest to have a world run by honest policy. Just fine, blah blah blah.
Later. For example, he had a neural interface implanted into his left wrist that allowed him to control a robot arm.
Okay, so this was totally uninteresting, right? You know, he could have had it not implanted and do the same thing. So it's just these people are just playing with being different for the fun of it more than anything else. These are people with tattoos or people with piercings. You know, they need to stand out. They need to, you know, be something. They need to make the story more interesting. Because it's too, you know, the default gruel isn't flavorful enough or something. So they're just sort of a symptom of the very thing I'm talking about. And it'll never be enough. You know, you do 1, then you got to do 5, and then you got to do 25. Financing is really bad for your future. The future is not going to enjoy the fact that you let it all fall apart. Right, and let it fall apart because you won't have a secure Social Security number. You won't make sure your currency is secure by having real ID numbers on it, and things that really matter. And people are just letting it all slide, and the future is going to pay for that. Let it slide. But whatever.
Agitation. There are a lot of other substances that are sold as nootropics.
Okay, so then got into the subject of chemical alteration, I guess you could call it, alteration through chemistry, and these are just minor, these are just fixing symptoms, and some idea that you're going to improve your intelligence, which is kind of silly, because it doesn't take much intelligence to figure out the game. The idea that it's a maze, you're running a maze. It's very hard to change the maze because the maze is made out of your own conditioning, your own preferences. Very hard to change those conditioned reflexive physiological reactions, but you can understand them, and you can understand that you're an addict, or you're an asshole, or you're an idiot, or whatever, that you get off on watching other people fail or some other kind of character defect. And yes, it's in there because it's in your psychology, but you can understand it exists, and you can say, well, I'm not gonna wallow in it. So it's more mind over matter than chemicals over matter. All you have to do is have knowledge. That knowledge is power, okay? And the more knowledge you have about how your psychology is corrupt and shitty, the more power your psychology has to defeat itself. That is, to defeat the negative elements of it. Because it can recognize the difference between being good and bad. And once it declares, I want to be good, once it says that, it can do the calculations to figure out what good means. Good means I don't necessarily win. Efficient means I don't necessarily win. Sometimes I have to be the savior, and I have to be crucified on the cross. That kind of thing. Knowledge creates that power, not anything else. It's not going to come in a bottle.
Tropics.
This is just control of your physiology. So if you want to tell me you're going to create buttons I can press that say, okay, I want to go to sleep, I don't want to bother. Right, so she used the word conscious control, which is just silly because everything is subconscious and you're just an observer. Your conscious self is just observing your physiology doing its reflexive reactions, and you're just watching the knee jerks. You don't do the knee jerks. You just watch them happening. I'm just watching me make a video. I'm not making a fucking video. The part that I can't see is making the video. I don't really have anything to do with it. I'm just here watching, hey, this is who I am. Yeah, I didn't have anything to do with it. I'm just watching me do it. Just like you. I'm just as, whoa, I'm surprised he said that. Boy, that action, that looks kind of gay. What the fuck is that with that? What do you do this thing for? I could ask the same questions and be curious as hell. So anyway, I don't consciously do any of it.
With metal devices, but it's possible to build circuits from organic ingredients.
Yeah, organic, organic, who cares? It doesn't matter whether I make it out of biological parts or mechanical parts. It's just parts that do a certain function. Who cares whether it's natural or biological or any of this crap? And who cares if it's synthetic? It doesn't, who cares? If the synthetic salt tastes like salt, who cares? I guess that's a bad example because salt is so basic in chemistry, but you know what I mean. I don't care. How can anybody rational care whether it's nickel or brass? I mean, it just can't matter. I guess that was the end. So I have to go somewhere before the end. That's the conversation that needs to be pulled and teased at. Yes, I believe that was the conversation, was the future is everything, and the present is just a tiny little part of a story, and the real big story is going to be told in the future. So maybe there is 1 million kids with cancer here now, but the fact is there's going to be a lot more than that in the future. And so it's all about, if you can fix it now cheap, now's the time to fix it. And that's sort of a eugenics argument. The default is, without knowledge or scrutiny or testing, I shouldn't assume you're going to fail the test, but I should be allowed to test you. Something like that. Yeah, I don't know what that isn't really the big picture point. But it's just the picture about diversity. I don't have an obligation to respect anything people do. I do have a right to critique it and to test it and see if it makes any sense. That's the conversation that needs to be, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. Bullshit is what it is. Okay.
Which camp are you in, transhumanist or not? Let me know in the comments.
Yes, right. Make comments because that creates more blah, 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 you know. But I'm not going to bother reading them. Whatever, 40,000 comments. You know, what a pile of shit. Okay, I'm going to say something here, right? I think I'm just going to say the future's the game, not the present. But I think I'll just wait for it, see if that's what I say. Shit. Anyway, so now she just does her commercial. Alright, so that's enough of a video. I don't, like I said, the subject really doesn't get to the subject. The subject is we're all just fantasizing a story that we live. Our brain creates. Right, and it's just a bug's life. That's what I'm basically saying. That's the big idea underlying all of this, that we're just acting out. It's like it's just inventing another species of bug. Why would you do it? No point in it. A framework and then infest Mars with it. Too silly. That we live in, and it's just a Red Riding Hood story, or it's a Goldilocks story, or it's some little adventure, it's some little Star Wars adventure story. You're a Jedi, you're this, you're that, you're playing your little game. And the whole thing is quite trivial and stupid. And that's the conversation that needs to be. Yeah, and none of that stuff, none of this transhumanism is being applied to the real game, which would be to improve the game. You know, and improving the game means pretty much, you know, reducing it to the zero, just letting it disappear. So anyway, that's enough of a video now. Okay, so I've done my job basically. You know, like I said, it's kind of a difficult, awkward subject. Has some dangerous elements in it. You can't, you know, you gotta be so careful about what you say. Blah blah blah. So. You know, with the whole eugenics thing and all that kind of crap, so blah blah blah. It's grain of salt video and whatnot and such. So that'll do big, and try again next time. Yeah. All right. So thanks for watching, and you know, have a nice day while the future, you know, gets cancer. Anyway, so till the next time and such, and so forth and whatnot.